As I tucked the sheets around Daniel, my bubbly 6-year-old, he suddenly said, "Daddy, there's someone under my bed." I assumed it was another one of his playful tales, but as I bent down to assure him, a sight left me stunned. There, with eyes so familiar, was another Daniel. This Daniel from under the bed whispered, looking horrified, "Daddy, there's somebody on my bed." I felt my heartbeat in my throat. Both boys looked so much like my Daniel. In a frenzy, I scooped the Daniel from the bed, and without a second glance, we left the room. The door clicked shut behind us, and I turned the key to lock it. Holding him close, Daniel, with confusion evident in his voice, asked, "Daddy, what just happened?" How could I explain when I didn't understand myself? The nights that followed were sleepless. Behind the locked door, soft cries echoed, "Daddy, why am I here alone?" The pleas tore my heart apart, but fear kept me from unlocking the door. One day, while taking a walk in the park to clear my thoughts, I ran into Mr. Gilbert. He was the town's oldest resident and was known to be a treasure trove of stories from the past. Mustering the courage, I poured out my bewildering tale to him. As he listened, his face turned a shade paler. He took a deep breath and said, "Your house stands on the land that was once an old inn. Legends speak of a mysterious event that took place there in the 1800s. A guest checked in one evening, and the next morning, staff found 2 identical men in the room, one on the bed and the other beneath it. People said the inn possessed a strange magic, creating doubles of anything within its walls. The chilling story led to the inn's desertion. With deep concern, Mr. Gilbert warned, the magic might still linger, especially if it has trapped your son. A determined resolve filled me. I needed to save my son, but which one was the real Daniel? That evening, with Mr. Gilbert by my side for moral support, I hesitantly approached the room. Unlocking the door, I saw the second Daniel. His appearance was frail, eyes filled with despair. "Daddy?" he asked, voice quivering. "Why did you leave me here?" Mr. Gilbert stepped in. "We need to act quickly. The magic is getting too powerful." Swallowing hard, I asked, "What should we do?" "We have to reunite them on that bed. It's the focal point of the magic," Mr. Gilbert replied. With trepidation, I made both boys lie down, watching as they hesitated, and then reached out to each other. Their hands met, and a surge of energy filled the room. The ground trembled, lights danced wildly, creating a mesmerizing but terrifying display. When the chaos subsided and I dared to open my eyes, only one Daniel remained. Relief flooded me as he sat up, grinning. "We did it, Daddy," Mr. Gilbert, visibly relieved, advised. "You may want to consider moving homes. Some energies, once disturbed, are best left undisturbed again." Weeks turned into months, and life slowly returned to normal. Daniel and I did move to another part of the town, but the memories of that room and the old inn's magic were hard to forget. Our new home was filled with the laughter of a child and the tales of a father, making every moment special. The past, with its shadows and echoes, seemed a distant memory. But sometimes, in the hush of a quiet evening, I'd think I hear, "Daddy, did you check under my bed?" And even though I'd smile and assure Daniel there were no monsters, inside, a tiny fear always remained. Some tales, especially those intertwined with magic, never really end. They just linger, waiting for their next moment.
I could feel it, the creeping unease of being watched. The disconcerting sensation was even more pronounced due to the deafening silence of the night. Why did I decide to log into that obscure subreddit? The one where people exchanged real-life ghost encounters? Out of all the tales shared, one particular story had me hooked. As I scrolled through the comments, a notification popped up. "You've got a new message." With trepidation, I clicked on the message icon. "Hello," the message read. "Seems you found my story interesting." Puzzled, I replied, "Hi, how are you? Are you the OP original poster?" "Very much alive for now. they responded. That was the first warning sign. Why message me? I inquired. Because, they typed back, my story wasn't just any story, it's happening as we speak in your town. I felt my blood run cold. This wasn't a casual exchange. This was real. Who are you? I typed frantically. Let's just say a friend, they replied. You might want to lock your doors and windows. Panic surged through me. My cursor hovered over the logout button, but curiosity got the better of me. Why are you doing this? I asked. Their reply came instantaneously. Because someone did it to me, and the chain continues. I blinked, trying to process the chilling words on the screen. What chain? What was this all about? Listen, they continued. I don't have much time. Just know that once you read a story from that subreddit, you become part of it. The shadows, the whispers, the entities you read about, they're real. And they're coming for you unless what? My heart pounded in my chest. You share the story. Flashbacks of horror movies and urban legends surged through my mind. Was this some modern-day chainmail? Is this some sick joke? I typed. I wish it were, they replied, genuine sorrow in their words. I didn't believe it either until it happened to me. Now, I pass the warning on to you. Share the story or face the consequences. Fear bubbled within me. How could a simple story have such a profound and terrifying effect? The idea was absurd, yet the weight of the situation was undeniable. Suddenly, I heard a knock on my window, soft but persistent. They're here, the stranger typed. Outside, the night grew eerier. An owl's hoot, usually a comforting sound, sent shivers down my spine. Every shadow seemed to twist and contort, taking on grotesque shapes. The wind whispered sinister secrets, and the moonlight felt mocking. What do I do now? I asked, voice shaking. Share the story. It's your only chance. And remember, not every chain is made of metal. Some are made of words, and they can be just as binding. I quickly shared the story to multiple subreddits, friends, and family. With each share, the knocking intensified, as if the entity outside was growing impatient. The next message from the stranger was the last. Good luck. I hope you break the chain. Moments later, I heard the final knock, followed by silence. The weight in the atmosphere lifted, replaced by a profound stillness. I never received another message from the stranger, and the story vanished from the subreddit, leaving no trace. Months have passed, but the scars remain. Every now and then, I revisit that dark corner of the internet, looking for answers. But one thing is for sure, stories have power, and some tales are best left untold. Or are they? What happens when we confront our fears, stare into the abyss, and challenge the unknown? Do we become masters of our destiny, or mere puppets in a never-ending narrative? This is getting wild. Throughout history, stories have shaped our understanding of the world, crafting cultural narratives and influencing our beliefs. But what if the tales we tell have a life of their own, an existence beyond the confines of paper and screen? The real question is, are we the authors of our stories, or are they the authors of us?
Boom! A loud noise broke the silence. My heart raced. Was it a dream? No. There it was again, a faint scratch on the door. That couldn't be right. There weren't any pets here. I lived alone. Feeling brave, I decided to check. Grabbing the nearest flashlight, I tiptoed to the door. The scratching stopped. I hesitated. Taking a deep breath, I swung the door open. Nothing. The hallway was empty. My flashlight showed only my own shadow stretching into the darkness. Trying to shake it off, I thought, maybe it was the wind. I headed back to bed but heard a soft meow. My heart jumped. A cat? I thought. Maybe one had slipped into the building. I loved cats, so the idea made me smile. Following the sound, I found myself in the kitchen. And there, on the windowsill, sat a beautiful white cat. It looked at me with bright blue eyes, meowing softly as if it knew me. "How did you get in?" I whispered. I approached the cat, ready to offer some comfort. But as I got closer, its shape began to change. Those blue eyes started glowing a bit too brightly. And then, in an instant, the cat wasn't a cat anymore. Instead, it turned into a small, glowing orb floating in the air. I rubbed my eyes, thinking I was dreaming, but the orb continued to glow, pulsing with an eerie light. It moved around the room, and I felt a strange connection, like it was trying to communicate with me. Remembering my childhood stories of friendly spirits, I cautiously asked, "Who are you?" The orb pulsed faster and brighter. Suddenly, images flashed in my mind, memories that weren't mine. A young girl with the same white cat playing in a yard that looked like mine. But it was old, maybe from a century ago. The connection was clear now. The spirit was the young girl, and she had once lived here with her cat. She wasn't here to harm or scare me. She just wanted to revisit her old home and perhaps play with her beloved pet once more. Feeling a mix of wonder and sympathy, I softly said, "It's okay. You can stay tonight, but in the morning, you should go and find peace. You and your cat deserve it." The orb dimmed slightly, and I felt a wave of gratitude from it. We shared a silent understanding. That night, I went back to bed, with the soft glow of the orb acting as a nightlight. The feeling of being watched, which earlier had scared me, now felt protective. Morning came, and the first rays of sunlight pierced through the gaps in the curtains. I awoke feeling surprisingly refreshed. The events of the night seemed almost dreamlike, yet I knew they had been real. I sat up and looked around the room. The glowing orb was nowhere to be seen. I walked to the kitchen, half expecting to see the white cat or the mysterious light, but there was nothing unusual. While brewing my morning coffee, I noticed something out of the corner of my eye. On the kitchen counter was a small, delicate white feather. Picking it up, a sense of warmth filled me, a feeling that it was a thank you note of sorts from the young girl and her cat. Every now and then, when the wind would whistle through the gaps or the floorboards would creak, I'd smile, thinking of my spectral visitors. The story of the glowing orb and the white cat became one of my favorites to share, especially during gatherings. Some would laugh it off as just a vivid dream, while others would nod in understanding, sharing their own tales of mysterious encounters. But one thing was certain. That night had changed my perspective on the unknown. Instead of fearing what I didn't understand, I learned to embrace it, finding beauty and connection in the most unexpected of places.